Today we are going to create a RESTful API using IBM Cloud Functions and IBM Cloud Net, their cloud storage or database, you can say. So we are going to create a to-do list REST API. So we'll be able to create to-do list, edit them and delete them, and then show all the to-do list. So they have a basic tutorial, basic documentation tutorials, you can say, both. So we are going to follow these in a way, but they have kind of showed here how to write and read data, and then we are going to extend it from, and we are going to create our own routes, so we can edit a document and then delete a document if needed, right? So first you can just create your free account. They have a free lifetime version light plan, I believe. You can create your account, it's totally free. Though I have already created my account, but that should be pretty straightforward, you can easily create, and I have not done anything else. So we are going to follow these tutorials and see how their cloud functions and their data storage works and how user friendly is this. Okay, so first step, we have to create a database on based on whatever project we are going to do. So for our case it will be a to-do list. So let's go to, you can just click on this catalog and then cloudant. This is their cloud storage. So we click on that, and then available region, I am from India, so I am going to choose Chennai, and instance name and resources group, these are not, let me just name it to-do list. Okay, tags, it's not really necessary, but, and I'm going to select this light plan. So this is free, so feel free to, you can use their premium option, but I'm going to stick to this free option. So let's hit on create. Let me turn off my notifications. Okay, so now under services you can see this is in progress currently, so it's also mentioned here, it can take some time. Okay, now it's activate. Now we can click on it. Okay, now let's go to the dashboard. Okay. I think my internet is slow some. Okay, let's sign in with my IBM ID. Okay, so first we have to create a database, I think. Okay, then services active, create database. Okay, let me name it to-do list, and then they said we have to select on this and then create. Okay, database is created, to-do list. Now this part is create done. Now switch back to the browser tab and services dashboard page, go to service credentials. Service credential, new credential, name, how they say, let me name it for to-do list, and role that should be manager. Okay, then add. Okay, so far so good. Now we have to create serverless actions. Okay, so this is the fun part. Okay, let's go to the function section. Let's keep this open, so we will come back to this later and see how when the data is entering, we'll see the progress. So let's go to the, let's create on functions and then actions. Okay, so there is currently nothing, so we have to create our actions, so as they are saying. Okay, so let's create our first action. Let's name it, they said prepare entry for save, so we are going to keep this the same. So and package, we have to create a package name. Please, let's create a package name. Let's name it to-do list. Okay, now let's hit create. Okay, so this is one action. Okay, so this is the action, and they said we have to copy and paste it. So this is basically if you are working on a simple Node.js project, what will this is like, you are planning the route where user will enter your data. For example, in our case, we will receive something like to-do list name or description. Let's go with description, or let's keep the name, or name is fine also, and we don't need this. Okay, if no name is provided, no name is provided. Okay, this will be our reject message. So the user have to give a name in order to create our to-do list. Okay, so and the return output will be, we can keep this created at and the name, and the rest is not necessary, but we will have another one. Let's say completed. It's by default will be set to false. Okay, so let's save it, and after save it, let's test this. If I invoke it, it's giving you this error, no name is provided. Okay, so if I try this, it had to be a JSON formatted. So name, let's say go to gym, and if I hit apply now and then invoke, you should see this, the completed is false, the created at, this is the and the name. Okay, so this is working. Currently it's not working or doing anything or saving anything to your database, but this is how it will work. So this is, let's say you are creating this route. Okay, so your domain name slash something, let's say to-do list. So when you are hitting that, you have to enter, so enter a name in order to create the data in your database. So currently it's doing nothing. So next step will be, we have to save this data to our database. So the database we created here, so this database we have to save this data. When user submit it, then we have to create it. So this is the first step, we are preparing the data. The next step will be saving the data. So for that, we have to create a sequence of steps. So that's how it's work usually. So we have to create a enclosing sequence, right? You can also go through this, see, enclosing sequence. Okay, so let me create this one enclosing sequence, and then add to this sequence we have to name a sequence name. Let's keep this name. This name is nines. We are going to change it. Save to do entry to do list, or this will be one item, so let's keep it. Let's save to do entry. Save to do to sequence. Let's save to do to sequence. Okay, that's fine. And then we have to choose to do list as our package, and then create. Okay, now if you come back to this action section, you will see this one says sequence, and this one is our first step. So what a sequence is, sequence can accept, I mean have steps, like first we preparing this save, the next steps will be we are going to save the data in our database, right? So this is like a in a way sequence of steps in order to save the data. So we first prepare the entry for save, and now we are going to create the database. So next thing we have to do, add. We have to add this. So next step will be add, and then in order to create data in our database, so we are going to use this public option, and then cloudant, and under actions you can see create document. You can also check this. Is saying create document, and then create a new binding and set the name to binding for guest book. Okay, let's copy this. We are selecting creating document, create document database, and new binding. Let's name it binding for to do list. Okay, now this will be the same, and credential for as I have only one, so it's automatically selected that, but you can change it. Let's keep everything as same. Now hit add. Okay, so this is our first step is completed. So if we create a route, let's say in order to save a data, so we will create a put route, I think. Let's even if we create a post route, so what it will do, it will take parameters as name is mandatory, and then it will create a database. So let's try this. Name, go to gym. Okay, hit apply, and then hit invoke. Now give it a second. It usually takes around 10 to 15 seconds. So it's okay. So as you can see, the result is success. It's returning a ID and the OK status to true. It's also returning a rev ID. So that's also important. We are going to talk about that later. But as you can see, it's working. Let's add another one. Read a book, and let's hit in book. Okay, now let's try this. If we remove everything, or let's say we did not have anything, now try to invoke it. It should give you a error, no name is provided. See, it's like a like when you do write a REST API in your Node.js application, but instead of writing your code, it's like steps. First we are checking if there is no name is provided, then just reject it and send this error. And the next step, if it's not, it's provided a valid name, then we are going to create this document, okay, this document object. And in the next step we are creating this database. It's a they have provided this, okay. So now if you come to this and refresh this, it should show these two. Let me just click on this JSON option, so you will see this. It's giving us two data that we created, one read a book and the second one is go to gym, these two, okay. So the our first step is completed. So the sequence is the steps we take to create something or do something with our database, something like that, okay. So now our first step is done. So we are preparing the data and saving the data. Next thing should be retrieving the data. So sequence of action to retrieve the data. All right. So it will be same as the first one. Okay. So first step will be, we have to create a new action. Let's name it set read input. Set read input. Okay, let's keep the same name. And again guest book as the package. Okay, let's create this. And we are setting this parameters to save. Okay, so this is this we are saying that in the return result we have to include the documents ID. So they have this reserved, I think. The next step, we have to create a sequence same like this other one, enclosing sequence, and let's name this sequence read to do list entries sequence. Okay, enclosing package we are going to keep the same to do list. Okay, create and add. Now we have created another sequence, save to do sequence. So the first one for creating, and the second sequence will be the first one preparing on read to do list. Sorry, the first one set read input. We have just set this to this. Okay, now is this the next steps will be, we have to create another second action. Okay, let's add another action. It's also going to be a public function cloudnet, and under actions it will be list documents. Okay, so let's find one, list documents. Okay, under my bindings it should be showing something. Okay, so list documents, and under binding for to do list. Okay, then add. Now if we save it and invoke, let's see what data is. As you can see, it's showing all this thing, the total rows and the offset, and then this rows with all these IDs and all that. But we want to format it like the end. For example, we want this actually name, then completed, created at. Actually, we want this section only. We don't want anything else. Okay, so what we can do, there is another step we can do to format the entries. So let's create another action, and we are going to name it format entries. We're going to check this and create an add. Okay, so in the format entries, what we can do, you can copy this and let's try to figure it out. What actually we need, we will only want completed be row dot document dot completed, and the next thing we want that created at. So what we can do, just let's go to this action, okay, we can just try to get this data. Alright, so we want this, we want id will be row dot doc dot underscore id, and then this revision id or ref, this will be same as row dot doc dot, okay, also it's not necessary, but if you want we can also get this one also created at. Okay, let's keep this one, row dot doc dot, okay, let's save it. Okay, so we cannot, it's a sequence of steps, so what we have to do, read to-do list from sequence, we can enter this sequence and then hit save and then invoke. Now after a few seconds it should format our entries to like this. It's much more simpler now. It's only returning the id, the revision id, and the completed, the created, and the name. So this is the list. So in the end of when we are done, we are going to create a route. Let's say our domain name slash something, and let's say a domain name slash to do list slash entries, and that will show all this list, and then we can use that data. So this is our two step is done. So we can two action sequence, one sequence for save the data, and the second sequence is to create read the data from database. So the next essential part will be modifying a specific data and then deleting a data, specific data. Okay, so all it's in their documentation, it's completed, they have not showed anything else. But if we are going to try to create the other two functions on our own, let's see how that goes. Okay, so first let's go something like the action, we'll name it update to do item. Okay, now check the package name is to do list and then hit create. So what we expect, we will need a must be, so that will be the document parameters. Okay, so let's say if if not peer, if not params dot doc, so they have to, in order to edit something, update a document, they have to provide the document object, whole object. Okay, so if not, then what we can do, we are going to do the same thing as here. So we are going to copy this and then paste it. No doc is provided. Okay, so and in the return result will be, so we are going to return the whole doc as object. So we can just keep the doc as doc and params dot doc, that will do, but we also want to update the date also. So what we can do, we can just destructure it like this, params dot doc, and then we can just update the created at this option with the by default new date. Okay, so I think let's save it. Okay, let's, if I invoke this, what you will see, no doc is provided, so it will give you a error. So in order to pass that, what you have to provide is something like this. So if you pass this, then it will return you something like this, but if you check the date, this date is different than whatever you provided here. This is 8:33 and it's saying 8:49 here, so this will be different. Okay, we need this doc, a whole document thing, in order to update it. So now this is done. Let's create a sequence. So within this we can just click on this enclosing sequence and then add to sequence. Sorry, what happened? Okay, update to do item, that will receive this. Okay, update to do item, enclosing sequence, and we are going to name this one. We'll name this sequence name. Okay, let's keep this kind of rules. Update to do entry sequence. Okay, something like that, and we will choose this to do list as the package and create an add. Okay, so in this update to do entry sequence, the first step, we are taking the whole document from the user. Then the next step will be under public and cloudant, and then we have to select Hmm, update document. Okay, you can select this one, and for bindings you can binding for to-do list and add, and then we can hit save. Okay, now if you invoke it, the first thing is doc. You don't know doc is provided, but let's say we provided the doc. Okay, something, it will let's apply and then invoke. Let's see what it returns. It's is you can check the error. Doc and doc revision are required, so you have to provide the whole document, and then that must contain document dot revise. So like I said, you have to provide the whole document, so like this. So please note this one, it's saying go to gym, and we are going to change it. uh, Go to market. Okay, now let's invoke it. Now as you can see, it's going to return you with um, another revision ID, but the same ID. But you can see it's saying it's okay. Now if you go to your database and try to refresh this page, you will see this one. The go to Zim one, it's changed to go to market, right? Now what will happen if you try to do it again? So I have the same data, but I am trying to invoke it again, but in this case it will not work. So you can see it's giving you this update conflict, because the revision ID, it keeps the data same, but this revision ID it always gets changed. So if we come to this and change it and then update it, let's add this and then invoke it, also it will be a success. Now as you can see, it's success, it's returning the same thing, and but also it's updating the revision ID. You can check, it's remember these two, and if I refresh this, it's changed 3. It's also changed the data here also. As you can see, it's updated. So we sorry so first we are first step we are taking the data from user, the whole document thing, and the next step we are updating it from the database. Now the next step is we are creating data, we are reading a whole list of data, and the third step we are updating data, and the next step will be we have to delete a specific data, right? And let's try this. So there is nothing, you can just keep this document as a just boilerplate, so how they named things or the steps, but this will be also pretty straightforward. Let's create new action. Let's action name it, let's name it something like this. Let me refresh it how they named it. Okay, let's name it delete to do item. Delete to do item. We are going to select this to do list and hit create. Now the last time I first changed all this and then told you why we need this, but let's try this. Okay, so we are not going to do anything else here. No, we are not going to change it now. Let's go to action, delete to do item. Sorry, we have to create on this enclosing sequences and then create, name it. We are going to keep the same naming convention. Delete to do entry from sequence. I can just from sequence we can just choose the package name, then hit create and add. Okay, so the next thing will be we have to add another action. It's going to be a public action, cloudnet. Let's choose the action name. We are going to delete a document. Okay, we are going to choose this one, my binding for to do list, under my bindings, and hit it add, and let's save it. Now just I have not created anything, just create a fast action, so delete to do list item and then a public action, just invoke it and it will give you a error. Okay, though it will also log a hello world and then it will give you an error. So it's saying the doc ID is required, so you have to provide a document ID in order to delete something. Okay, so here what you can do, it's going to be same like this. We have to check if no doc ID is provided, doc ID is required. If it's done, then what you can do, doc ID is equal to params dot doc ID, right? Let's hit save, and under actions let's go to this delete sequence. Let's try to invoke it. This error is from my end, so now let's try to give it a doc ID. Doc ID, now hit apply and then invoke. It's also saying doc reverse is required, so you cannot, so that means what you have to do, go here, or and is required. And as you guessed it, the next thing we will do, doc ref, sorry, not read, doc ref is equal to Now hit save. Now under action, let's go to this sequence and invoke with parameters. We have this doc id. We are also going to need this one too. Doc ref. Now if you hit apply and then let's say hit invoke, as you can see it's returning with the status okay, true, and it's deleted this. Also if you try to refresh this page again, you will not see that one. Okay, so the go to the market one, updated, that one is deleted now. Okay, so let me just try this again, and what will happen, it will give you a error. Okay, this is returned with a 404. Okay, so as per our basic application go, we have completed the 3 tasks. I mean the 4 tasks. We created the to do, we list all the to do list, and we edited. We can edit any to do, and we can delete any specific to do. Okay, we can also keep working on this and try to create a route for viewing a particular to do by their ID and all that, but we are going to stop here because this is pretty this is so far you can work with this for a to-do list. Okay, so now the next step will be creating a API. Okay, so that steps, so let's go to this API section. Based on this, so we are going to create a API, and API name we are going to name it to do list. The best path will be, let's skip this one. Oh, you can just name it API, and then we can name it. So for example, let's first create a route to get list or show all of our to do lists. So that will be a get request, and path will be something, let's name it, let's keep it what they named it. Let's keep this one for all of this. Let's our domain name slash API slash entries, and guest list, and the action containing action will be to do list, and the action name. Okay, it's not showing for some reason. Okay, let's reload this. Sometimes this happens. Okay, let's try again. Create an API, and we are going to do list API, and then create operation slash entries, it's not showing me this. Okay, so no, I have missed another good steps, I think. So let's go to this action. On each of these sequence of action, for example, first one, let's read to do sequence. You have to click here and enable this, enable as web actions. Sorry, that was my bad. So, and let's try this one for save to do list, web actions, enable, save. Now under action, same thing goes for the update to do sequence. And then the delete one. So enable as web actions. Okay. Now if you go to the APIs, now let's try to create again to-do list and then name it slash API slash entries get. Okay, so we are going to select read to-do list entries sequence. Okay, and we are going to create it, and the rest of thing will be same as everything, just hit create. Okay, so this one should be, so if you just as this is a get request, so you can just put it in your browser and it will work. So slash API slash entries, sorry, ENTRIES, if I pronounced it, if I spelled it correctly. Okay, so as you can see, it will return you the JSON data, something like this. Okay, let's create the API route for, let's get another one. So we are keeping the same thing, ENTR slash entries, and this one will be put. So we are going to create a document, this is so frustrating. Okay, let's create another operation. I don't know why is this not working. Okay, now it's working. So we created for delete, and this one will be put. So create save to do list sequence, and the path will be ENTRIES. Okay, food save, and we hit save. So let me just create all the four. So then patch, that will be update to do list entry sequence, create, and the last one that will be delete, delete to do entry from sequence. Okay, and create. So as you can see, we have get, put, patch, delete, all the sequence, the four sequence that we created. We can just now hit save, and then, so in order to test out all the other routes, so what we can use the one popular postman. We can use the postman in order to check it. Okay, so I have this one, so list all to dos. So let me just copy and paste this route here, and then hit send. As you can see, it's list all the entries. Now in order to add to do list, so this will be the same route, but in the body we have to at least pass the name. Read a good book, and that is the only thing that is compulsory, so we just hit send. It should be returning us to, and if we just send it again, it should be now showing 2. As you can see, it's showing 2 now. Let's another one. Write a blog. Okay, now if we check it, now it's showing 3 first, 1 2 3. So the next thing will be updating a to do. So a route will be the same, and in the body we have to provide the whole document object with. So we are going to copy this, write a blog set thing, then we are going to change this ID, and then the revision ID. We need these two, that's necessary. And if you can check it, this is set to false, all of this set is false, and I am changing this to true, and I am changing the write a blog to write a blog about IBM Cloud. Okay, now let's hit send. It's returning success, and also if I just resend this, as you can see, it's modified, it's updated to true, and data is updated. The next thing will be add a request and delete the to do. So that's also happening in this route, and this will be a delete, and the body, it's raw JSON, it's need to, if you remember, doc ID rev ID, and let's update this one, read a book. We have this one, last one, let's try to update this one. Doc ID is this, and revision ID is this. Try to hit send. Sorry, your doc ID and doc rate is required. Doc ID and doc rate. Sorry, this one should be. I have made a mistake. If I go to this, let me refresh this action list. It's kind of short. Within this sequence, I have renamed something like doc rev. Okay, I have to renamed it to doc rev, and also this error message should be rev. Okay, now I have changed it to doc rev. Now if I hit send, it should be a success. And if I try to, now it should be 2, read a good book and write a blog about IBM Cloud. Okay, so this is it. So this is we creating a RESTful API with IBM Cloud and their cloud storage, cloud inner, and you can just refresh this database and it's showing 2. Okay, so what's my thought on IBM Cloud? They have very lack of documentation in my personal opinion, and when I'm trying to create the to-do list earlier, I had to manually tried very different things. They do not have good amount of example or specific code snippet that demonstrate how we can delete, patch, update a document, and do all the other stuff. For example, if I want to try to find something based on a parameter, let's say I want to check all the to-do lists that are completed or that are not completed. So all those things, maybe that's possible. I believe that's possible within cloud function, but I don't see any resources that I can go through and try understand that it's working. So it's a good steps. I think you can easily create things. For example, this RESTful API, you can just create this by following few steps and pretty much create something good. But if you don't know how to do stuff, then that's going to be very tough. So I think they should improve their documentation and try to put out lots more code snippet, and for different scenarios how can user do something like that, something like that. And another thing, I think their whole experience kind of slow. It's slightly, sometimes I have to refresh twice in order to get all the list and all that. And also the response time, I think it's slow, although I am using a free light option, and also the server location also sometimes matter, but still I think it's slightly slow. It usually takes uh, around 10 to 15 seconds in order to complete a request, I think. So that's, I think that's a good big amount out, but it's a hopefully they will improve their documentation. And okay guys, that's it. That's my thoughts on IBM Cloud and how we can create a RESTful API using Cloudinary and IBM Cloud Functions. I am also going to link a text version of this video on my on this description. You can go through that if you are in a hurry, or you can watch through this whole video if you want. Thank you.